movie stars, your iconic big rock stars, these big musicians, yeah, they're definitely victims of the mind control, and oftentimes not only victims but the perpetrators too. They'll have dual role. And I thought about, because you had mentioned the music industry as being one of your areas that you
sure,
enjoy learning about.
That's my specialist area. Yeah, I look into how this is used in the music biz. And
I thought, I was away for 8 years, and during that time I was away, people took my information and they've done incredible things with it. And on the internet, there's some incredible sites where they talk, where they have incredible videos, where they show these people doing the mind control things. You see the triggers, you see and all. I thought to myself, there's no way I can compare to these. I should just suggest that the listener go and look these things up on the internet, because there's a lot of information out there,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Look at someone like Britney Spears. Look at someone like Clive Davis. There's so many people out there, and it just the country Western music industry was created by the intelligence agencies and the Illuminati, and has been a hotbed for this trauma-based mind control. I've watched these country Western performers doing things, and right in front of people they just, if you understand the mind control, you just see, like Dolly Parton was out there on stage one time, and her handler came out, and she just turned around and she put her hand on his in submission, as a slave does, because I'd been taught by Cisco how the slave is to show submission. She does that, and she turns around and calls him daddy right there in front of millions of people on television. It's like, if you understood the mind control and how it functions, you'd go, whoa, they just did it right in front of us. This isn't even secret. It's not really even secret. That's why I suggest, if people will get my books, the formula book you mentioned, and then its sequel, The Deeper Insights, and they read about this stuff, they're going to see it right in front of their faces. Yeah. It's not even really secret. Once you know how to recognize it, it's like they're right in front of you.
Well, exactly.
And then you can go to all of these sites that are taking the obvious and putting it up there on YouTube and so forth for you, so you can visually see for yourself how this is going on all around us.
Yeah. When it comes to the music industry, I think the name that most people would think of is Britney Spears, as you said. There's a classic video on YouTube, which I've referenced before, where she actually switches into one of her alters in the middle of an interview. It's a very well-watched and very famous video as well. And of course there's a famous incident where she shaved her head and started attacking cars with umbrellas, and that shows all the classic signs of the programming breaking down and her having to go back into the lab and be reprogrammed. One that a lot of people are talking about right now is Miley Cyrus, who's just had a big #1 hit in the UK, daughter of Billy Ray Cyrus, of course, the country and western singer. She performed at the VMA Awards just the other day and was exhibiting some very abnormal behaviour, which again shows all the hallmarks of mind control. A classic hip-hop so-called artist is Nicki Minaj, who is just an A to Z of all the signs and indications of mind control. She switches alters in interviews, puts on different accents, becomes different personalities. She's even got an alter called Roman Zelensky, which she slips into spontaneously mid-interview. And then in Hollywood, there's the likes of Tom Cruise has always struck me as a strange character. In the middle in the middle of interviews, you'll see him switch and do some very strange things. So when it comes to the music industry and Hollywood movies, Are there any other household names that keep cropping up when you look into these areas? Names that people are going to know?
Oh, across the board. The easiest way to say it is if they're famous and they're in the limelight, they have gotten there because the world order put them there.
Yeah.
Some of them don't even have talent. I mean, Paris Hilton, in my opinion, is neither pretty nor talented.
I don't actually know what she's even supposed to do. I don't even know what the cover story is with her.
But she's obviously Illuminati and programmed multiple. But if somebody gets there, up there like that, you can just, you can make a safe assumption that they're a programmed multiple. Another thing that they're using the music industry for is they use a lot of these songs like, and I used to listen to the radio, and when they needed to announce a ritual over the radio, you hear the song Heartache Tonight, or to reinforce the programming, like there's a song playing with the Queen of Hearts. The Queen of Hearts is the emergency Mayday system that's going to alert the programmer that the programming is being tampered with, because they build these systems with an altar, or actually several altars, that are watchdogs. They're just little child altars that don't know really anything but their role to play. And if anything happens to the programming, they contact the programmer, with a Mayday signal. And so, like, in that song playing with the Queen of Hearts, knowing that it really smarts, Joker's the only fool who'll do anything with you. That is reinforcing that programming of that. So you hear a lot of songs knocked 3 times. I can give an incident where one of the Illuminati ladies that I was trying to help, they have these guys that are assigned to pick these program multiples up, so that they can be so a new program can be put in, or so that they can check with the system, just like you would I guess bring your car in to get it serviced or something. So his name was Rex, and I've actually bumped into Rex a number of times. But Rex came by in his pickup truck, and he went to, she was inside, and he went to the window and he knocked 3 times. And that's the signal to be picked up when the slave hears those 3 knocks. They're to go to the door.
The triggers.
So, pardon me?
They're triggers, yeah?
Yeah, that's a trigger. And so he did that, and her son, who was familiar with my research, knew what those 3 knocks were, so he ran out to try to catch Rex, and Rex ran for his pickup truck, and David chased his pickup truck down the street. Well, the pickup truck got away, but what Rex did was he was so confident that those 3 knocks would bring the woman out to the street that he just circled around the block and came around expecting to pick her up. Anyway, the reason why I'm mentioning this is there's a famous song, Knock 3 Times, right? Maybe you've heard that song.
Yep, another one, yep.
Yeah.
Isn't it Dawn? Is it by Dawn?
Yeah. So, these songs that you're hearing all the time, they have a dual role. They're not just songs, but they're reminding the slaves of their programming, or they're doing things to the slaves' mind control system. It's activating certain parts. So across the board, so yeah, if you're listening to music, know that music is being used. We're basically, the UK and the USA are mind control labs.
Yeah, really.
That's all we are.
Yeah, you've got the Tavistock Institute in London, which is involved in this big time. Let me just ask you, we see a lot of mind control, or depictions of mind control, encoded into Hollywood movies and into music videos. They seem to like doing it. They seem to like letting you know what's going on and dressing it up as fiction, whereas in fact it's based on stuff that's really happening. I'm thinking of movies like the Bourne trilogy, you know, the Bourne Ultimatum, the Bourne films, in which you've got Matt Damon playing a former CIA agent who is obviously having undergone some sort of mind control treatment. And to me, a lot of the things that are depicted in those films and dressed up as fiction are in fact, or do have some basis in fact. And then of course you've got The Manchurian Candidate, the famous movie from the 60s that was updated recently, and you've got all kinds of symbolism that's being put into music videos now. Nicki Minaj videos and Beyonce, Rihanna, Katy Perry, all the rest of them. They seem to like rubbing your nose in it. They seem to like letting you know what's going on in the sure knowledge that most people will not understand the significance of what they're seeing. Or I'm wondering if there's some other aspect of what's going on here, if it's like predictive programming, in they believe they can keep the program manifesting by presenting depictions of it into the public consciousness. But either way, they seem to like letting you know what they're doing via these methods, don't they?
They sure do. I have some ideas as to why they do it, and yet, you know, the extent of how they get in our face showing it is mind-boggling to me. And when I wrote these, I wrote actually 3 books. You know, we've talked about 2 of them. The other one's out of print. When I wrote these books on the mind control, I actually thought that I was going to scale back what they were doing. You know, I exposed Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz, Star Wars, Star Trek. I exposed these programming themes and how they were doing things and their programming, the actual codes. I have 40 pages of codes. What bothered me is years later, they were still using the same programming themes, the same codes. It's like they were getting right back in my face and saying, you didn't do anything. We can just go ahead and do what we want.
Yeah.
And you really can't stop us.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's kind of it's I don't know what the word to place on it, but I guess honestly it's disconcerting that they can just get in our face.
It seems to be arrogance. It seems to be real arrogance on their part. It's like, yeah, okay, we know that some of you are onto us. We know that there's a few researchers out there that know what we're doing, but we know that the general public, the vast majority of people, will never see it, and so we're just rubbing your nose in it, and what are you going to do about it? That's the way it feels to me. Yeah. It really does feel that way. Then there's different ideas, you know. People that believe in God, there's something in the scriptures where Satan has to go before God and ask permission to tamper with Job's life. And so using those kind of incidences as a framework, people say that God insists that evil broadcast what they're going to do, you know, that they don't have a free ticket just to go and do evil, but they have to tell you. That could be, for some reason they seem to, it's called revelation of the method. I thought for years that one of the reasons why they did revelation of the method was it's very intimidating to the slaves. Imagine if you were a mind-controlled slave and your handler or programmer could come to you and say, you think you can get free of us? Look, we're doing this right in front of everybody, and nobody's even doing anything. We're even telling people what we're doing, and nobody's coming to help you.
Yeah, exactly. And that must be very intimidating to somebody who's trapped in this.
Well, whatever the case, they do seem to like to announce in advance what they plan to do with all of their activities, and you know, it does raise a big question as to why they feel the need to do it.
And maybe part of it's just that psychopathic, sadistic personality gets enormous pleasure out of announcing what they're going to do.
Well, it could